felt like you were stuck in a loop? Maybe you're having the same kinds of frustrating relationships over and over and over again. And, one minute you feel super connected to somebody, and then the next minute you feel like a massive wall between yourself and the other person. And it can really be confusing, maybe even draining. And maybe you might start thinking like, what is this me? What is going on? Well, hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Kelsey from KML. We are anchored in science, guided by intuition, and always personalized for your path. So here today, we're going to talk about attachment. And the truth is, to all of those questions I just asked you, you might be working from an internal script, if you will, that you didn't even know that you have. And today we're going to be kind of pulling back that curtain on those hidden scripts, and there are 4 of them. They're known as attachment styles. And these styles are going to shape us and shape the way that we connect with others. It's happening in all of us, even if you didn't even know. So today we get to take a look at that, and most importantly, think about what you can do if you need to start writing a new script. So let's start with what is exactly attachment theory. Well, these 4 hidden scripts come from a game-changing theory called attachment theory. And this was started by Bowlby a long time ago. I'll maybe link something down below for the science folks that want to know even more. And they created a lot of the understanding of attachment based off of something called the strange situation experiment. So basically, this particular task, we have caregiver, we have stranger, and we have baby. And what we're looking at is that when the caregiver leaves the room and the baby is left in there, when the caregiver returns, how does the baby interact? Now, there's 4 main styles that they talked about, and I'm going to go into the styles below. I'm not going to tell you the names of them right now. I'm just going to tell you the reactions of the infants, and I want you to wonder, can I match them up to the stuff that I hear in a little bit? And I think you can, so stay tuned. The first one is the babies that acted distressed when the parent was gone, and when the caregiver returns, they seek contact and reunion with that caregiver, and overall they're easily comforted. The second group is the group of infants that had kind of a little bit of distress, but not a lot, and they maybe really ignored or avoided their caregiver altogether when the caregiver returned. The third group of babies had a great level of distress when the parent or the caregiver was gone, and when they returned, they were ambivalent. They were seeking kind of this relationship, but then also ambivalent to go toward at the same time, so they were kind of resistant. And then the fourth group were really kind of concerning, had a mixture of behaviors. They were avoidant, they were resistant, they were disoriented, they sometimes appeared confused and fearful. When you were a baby, the way that you bonded with your caregivers gave you sort of a blueprint, if you will, about how relationships work and what you're supposed to feel like. That blueprint is called your attachment style, and it really is going to shape everything around you. We don't think about it, but early on in our lives, we determine how we think about ourselves, others, in the world. Are we safe? Are we not safe? Are we good enough? Do we matter? Is the world a safe or a dangerous place? Are people generally good? Or are they generally not good? All of those questions are influenced by, not only, but by your attachment style. It's going to impact the way that you move through the world, what you expect of people, how you act when you're close to someone, what you're most afraid of maybe in your relationships. So it's not just about your romance also, it's going to affect how you interact in your friendships and your family dynamics as well. It's everything, and it's a pretty big foundation to our lives. It can even impact the way that you interact in your work relationships too, but also how you're going to handle disagreements, how you're going to show affection, all sorts of things. So let's talk about the 4 attachment styles. So first off, we have what's called secure attachment. And that is, you're probably going to be seeing this in somebody who generally thinks that the world is an overall safe place. Again, not based off of situations that are happening in the world, but just in general. It's a safe place. I can trust people. I can say what I need to say without a lot of drama. I generally have a good and positive view of myself and others in the world. I believe that Others around me have generally good intentions. And what that does is it sets me up for a world in which I feel stable, supported, and satisfied. So you can see how that could be a really positive thing in somebody's life. The next one is called anxious attachment. And this is a little different. You can probably even hear it just from the word anxious. This would be a person that is really craving a lot of closeness and secretly terrified at the same time that their partner might, or friend, might leave them. And so they constantly need that reassurance, which then can kind of set them up to feel like they are too much. And others might even make those comments, that they're too much, or they're too needy, or they're too clingy, or whatever it might be. And sometimes the mood of this type of person could feel like it's on a roller coaster. Or they may be constantly searching for proof that they are loved by their partner. So you can imagine what that would feel like if that person doesn't get that validation internally on their own. They're constantly going to be looking for that and feeling even more anxious when they don't have that. So that anxiety ends up getting more and more and more anxiety. The next one is what we call avoidant. And that one, again, think about what avoidance is, right? It's somebody who's kind of going away. And that's what this attachment style is. If an avoidant person is somebody who's generally kind of good on their own, they might pride themselves on being overly independent. They've got it all together. They're the only ones that can do everything. They may be so self-sufficient and independent that it's hard for them to make close relationships and emotional relationships with others. And those emotional relationships might actually feel threatening in some sort of way. It might feel like it's going to smother you if you need that independence. That person might push other people away. They might keep their feelings on lockdown. They might maybe over-focus here in their brain and not be as aware of their emotions. Okay, so it can make it actually very difficult to build deep connections with others because others might feel them being kind of distant or walled off, maybe even mysterious, and they don't really know who they are. They may also be people that might feel a little bit more comfortable with information or animals than they do with other humans. And these are, again, are mites. I don't want you to, think it's everything, but these are just general overall patterns and ways that we move through the world. And the last one is what we call disorganized. And this one is very complex. If you will, it's kind of like having your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. It's oftentimes considered to be somewhat of a trauma response, or it mimics a trauma response. So the person wants to be close to people, but deeply afraid of being close to people at the same time. They don't trust themselves, they don't trust others, and so they tend to kind of move away in relationships, and they end up quite on their own because of that. And there's this constant internal battle between trusting others and feeling that that's almost impossible, and at the same time wanting that, and therefore there can be a lot of instability in their relationships around them. Okay, that's a 2-minute overview of what attachment is. I will do additional trainings on this and skills development on this, because I can actually put it up on the board and we can look at all of it, and we will. But today I just want to introduce you to the topic because it really is a pretty big one. And it is also a spectrum. So when we draw on the board, it's a quadrant, it's a spectrum. So now what? What do we do with this? What is the path to security? Okay, well, so we're hearing these descriptions and we might have a huge light bulb moment. You might be thinking, am I stuck with this style forever? And I've told you the answer is absolutely not. Your attachment style is not considered to be a life sentence. You can move it, and you can move through life with great therapy, counseling, self-reflection, self-help books, all the things, good friends, and you can shift your attachment style. It's not intended to just be one thing forever and ever. If you don't do anything, you're likely to just repeat the patterns of what has been in place for you. So it won't heal itself on its own either. A first step is awareness. And that's honestly to everything, getting aware of what's happening. Notice your patterns. Don't judge your patterns or jump to should or how to, which most of us do. How do I fix it? How do I change it? Just get curious and sit in that and notice if the only thing in this situation was different is that I felt like I mattered, I deserved, a deep down core belief, would this situation look differently? And that's going to help you understand how your attachment style and also your core beliefs are impacting the situation around you and what you're seeing. Now, a next step, again, with probably some therapy, with some help and assistance and coaching and all of that, is to lean into new ways to respond. If you lean toward the anxious side, maybe you practice calming yourself down for a few minutes before you would text for reassurance from somebody else. If you lean to the avoidant side, maybe you take a tiny risk and you share one feeling with someone else around you that you wouldn't normally do. And that's a way of trying to change your script. And it's also about finding people in our environment that are going to support us in those changes so that we can have good outcomes. So overall, what I want you to get out of this today is that understanding your attachment style isn't about placing or slapping a label on yourself. We have plenty of labels, goodness knows, we don't need another one. It's really about just understanding yourself and having a way of looking at how do I move through the world and what is influencing my daily patterns, decisions, how I look at relationships, how I look at myself, and all of those big things. It's just one additional way to do that. It gives you a compassionate way to understand why you do what you do. And it also gives you the power to navigate your connections better and to make choices that are truly choices that are being made from you instead of just repeating the scripts of the way that you have always done things. Recognizing the script that you have in your mind is always a great first step to becoming and building a healthier you and fulfilling relationships that you really deserve in your life. So if this overall video was a light bulb moment for you, please do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and we are committed to providing you more content here at KML that is filled with science, that is filled with all sorts of things that you can trust. And also remember to never use this directly as therapy or replacement for therapy. This is simply empowering information for you to understand and know yourself better. And as always, I want you to remember that you matter, you deserve, and you are enough.